Good morning, children. I hope you are all doing good by the grace of God. Shall we bow down our heads and pray? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. God bless you all, children. Take care.
Hi students, I hope you are all safe at your home. Today we are going to learn 9th Standard History, Unit 7, the remaining part of the lesson, State and Society in Medieval India. So how did Islamic culture tradition developed in India? A distinct Islamic tradition, and distinct means a different Islamic tradition culture developed in India, and it was established during the Muslim rule. So during the Muslim rule, a different type of Islamic traditions were developed, and the sultans built fort, tombs, mosque and other monuments in Delhi as well as in South India. So what the sultans did? The sultans built forts, tomb, mosque and other monuments. They did not build only in Delhi, but also they built these all forts, tombs, mosque and other monuments in South India too. And the Mughal period was a brilliant period in the cultural history of India. So during the Mughal period, the development in culture, that is in religious or in belief or in constructing temples, this was a very brilliant period in the Mughal period. So the history of India has a brilliant period during the Mughal period. The Mughals were well known as their aesthetic. Aesthetic means it was concerned with beauty and art. So whatever the constructions was done by the Mughal period, during the Mughal period, it may be a temple or it may be any other institutions or any building which was built during the Mughal period, it was full of beauty and art. It added the value, and also they were a great supporters of art. So the Mughal period, all these constructions added value to the Mughal period, and they were great supporters of the art. They left behind numerous monuments in addition to constructing entire cities like Shahjahanabad, Delhi and Faithpur Sikri, gardens, mosque and forts. So apart from temples and monuments, they started to build cities. Even cities were built by the Mughal rulers. For example, Shahjahanabad, Delhi and Faithpur Sikri. So these two cities were built by these Mughal kings. So this is Shahjahanabad, which is in Delhi, and this is Faithpur Sikri, which is in Rajasthan. So these two cities were built by during the Mughal period. So these were the gardens which was built by the Mughals. So what are the other arts which developed in India during Mughals period? So decorative arts, especially jewellery set with precious and semi-precious gems of items of personal use, flourished under the support of royal household and urban elites. Urban elite means, see, they were the people, important people or group of people in the society who had power. So they were called the elites, and best or most important groups of its power. So during this Mughal period, mainly decorative arts, jewelleries, no? So jewelleries we wear, so it is full of arts, isn't it? Designs and arts. So during Mughal period also, they were using this type of jewellery which was full of decorative items and with semi-precious and precious stones. So you can see this is the Mughal period jewellery which was full of art and which was minted with precious and semi-precious stones. And during this Mughal period, it was used for personal use. So whenever they were in their homes, they used these kinds of jewellery. So this decorative art was supported by royal household, it is like kings and queens and elite. So this elite means they were the important people who had power in the society. So these people supported this decorative arts jewellery. The art of painting also flourished in Mughal period. Mughal miniatures. Miniatures means it is a small copy of something which is larger. If you see in the picture, so these are the Mughal miniatures. it is a painting, it is a type of painting which was mainly used in North India. So this painting confined to miniatures either as book illustrations or a single works to kept in albums. It emerged from Persian miniature painting and developed in the court of Mughal Empire. See, if you can see in your book there are pictures, isn't it? So they are the illustrations. So like that the many miniatures were developed during the Mughal period. So that this kind of art also flourished during the Mughal period. So this is Mughal arts. Arts flourished in the form of book illustrations. If you see in this picture, it is how the art is drawn in the temples. So this is called miniature painting. So large volume of literature flourished especially in Persia and also in Urdu, Hindi and other regional languages. So during Mughal period, the literature, that is the written works, it also flourished, means it began to develop. So flourished especially in Persia and also in Urdu. So in Persia, this literature were developed in Urdu, Hindi and other regional languages which was known to the people. Performing arts like Hindustani, the name of Tansen is well known, indicating the support extended to classical music under Akbar. So there was a famous Hindustani musician, his name was Tansen. He was living during the period of Akbar and he is the best example for Hindustani music. So do you know how the Vijayanagar rulers supported culture in South India? In South India, the Vijayanagar rulers and the military chiefs actively supported temple construction. So what happened? More and more temples were constructed during the Vijayanagar Empire because the rulers as well as the military chiefs, they supported in constructing temples. Many temples were built with new structures like pavilions. See in this picture, you can see when you enter into temples, you can see places with many pillars. In between there will be spaces. So this is called the pavilion, and with halls and many pillars added extensively to temple with elaborated carved pillars. So many pillars added beauty to the temples, and these pillars were carved with many arts. See, you can see in this picture, it is extensively elaborated with carved pillars. So many structures and statues were carved in these pillars. And the intricately means many small parts or details put together in a complicated way. So in these pillars they added some details or some events which took place during their role. So that was carved in these pillars in a complicated way. So if you see in the pillars, you can see an event which took place during their period. So it describes the event which took place during the Mughal rule or during the Vijayanagar rule. So like that the pillars were carved, and it added a beauty to the temples, and it's also the entrance of the temples were added during Vijayanagar period. So this is the entrance of the temple. So you can see how intricately carved, that is how complicatedly it is carved. So this describes an event of their rule. So this is the entrance of the temple. So during Vijayanagar period, the temples were built like this. There was an entrance, they will say the Gopuram, no? So that was built during the Vijayanagar period. And the walls of the temples embellished with, what is meaning of embellished? Make something more beautiful by adding decoration to it. So the walls of the temples embellished means making something more beautiful by adding decoration to it. So during the Vijayanagar rule, the walls of the temples, no, it was embellished, a beautiful decoration was added to the walls of the temples by paintings or either by statues or sculptures. So this is the wall of the temple which is embellished by a new paintings or by adding sculptures and statues to the walls of the temples. So you know how literature flourished in the empire of Vijayanagar? Religious literature, especially in Sanskrit, was produced under the patronage of Nayaks and the Vijayanagar rule. So religious literature, that is mainly was written in Sanskrit and which was greatly supported by the Vijayanagar rulers as well as the Nayaks. Nayaks, they were the chief of the military. And Telugu literature flourished under royal support. So Telugu literature also flourished under the support of the royal kings. A new style of Tamil literature called Prabandham emerged during this period. So this is a new type of literature which was known as Prabandham. For example, Nalayara Divya Prabandham. So this was a new Tamil literature which flourished during the empire of Vijayanagar. The great commentaries. Commentaries means you all know, spoken descriptions on radio and televisions. A great commentaries of the Silappadigaram and Thirukkural were also written during this period. Commentaries means anything criticizing about the literature or anything good about the literature is written during this period. So this is Thirukkural and Silappadigaram. So they wrote commentaries about these two literature during the Vijayanagar rule. So the great commentaries means anything criticizing about the literature or anything good about the literature is given during the Vijayanagara rule. So Silappadigaram and Thirukkural. So about these they were commentaries which were written during Vijayanagara empire. Venkatamadi, son of Govinda Dikshidhar, who codified means he arranged. So Venkatamadi, he was the son of Govinda Dikshidhar. So this Venkatamadi, he codified means he arranged the ragas of Carnatic music, had lived in this period. So the person named Venkatamadi who arranged all the ragas according to their ragams. So he lived during Vijayanagar rule. So Venkatamadi, he is the son of Govinda Dikshidhar, and this Venkatamadi, he codified, he arranged all the Carnatic ragas according to their ragams, and he lived in this Vijayanagar empire. How did the medieval period had its impacts on economy in India? India was predominantly an agriculture country. So India's main occupation was agriculture, and a very large proportion of the population lived in rural areas. Rural means village, and depended on agriculture for their livelihood. So mainly India was an agriculture country. So all the population, all the people who lived in the villages, they were depending upon the agriculture for their livelihood. Agriculture heavily depended on irrigation both in north and south. So both in north and south the people depended on agriculture. Canals and wells added to the water sources in addition to rainfall and rivers. The biggest canal built in 14th century by Firuzshah Tughlaq in Delhi. So the main source for the irrigating the agriculture field was canals and wells, and this was the water source which added to the sources in addition to rainfall. So rain is a source of water. So after that the canals and wells were the other sources to irrigate the fields. In 14th century a canal was built by Firuzshah Tughlaq in Delhi. So he is Firuzshah Tughlaq. He built a canal in Delhi, and this was a main source for irrigation during the medieval period. Constructions of lake, tanks and reservoirs while with sliding gate to flow water which let out the water, as well as the use of checking dams which increased the availability of water for irrigation. So during this period many lakes and tanks and reservoirs means dams, rivers. So these were all the reservoirs which was constructed with a sliding gate. Sliding gate means, see, you can see in this picture, this is the sliding gate. When you open the sliding gate, the water will flow out. So like this the canals were built. So this was used to check the outlet of water, what amount of water is gone out for the irrigation, and also is used for checking the level of the water level of the dam. So this was built during the medieval period, and this canals and tanks, lakes were used for the irrigation purpose. So this is the dam. See, you can see the sliding gate, round in structure, no? So that is the sliding gate which was built during the medieval period. What was the irrigation system which was followed by the farmers? Cultivators encouraged irrigation by digging wells. So you know all well, no? So digging well was the main irrigation by which the fields were irrigated. Lift irrigation means water is lifted with pumps which was used to draw the water. In north the Persian wheel was used for lifting water from wells. So this is lift irrigation. The water is lifted from the water source for irrigation purpose through pipes. And this is the Persian wheel. See, it will go round like the wheel, and then it will take the water from the well and it will pour outside. So this is the Persian wheel which was used for irrigating the fields. In Tamil regions, the Cholas had created a network of canals for irrigation connecting the tributaries. What is tributaries? Tributaries is a small river that flow into a larger river. So, the Tamil Cholas, they created a network of canals. So, canals were built by which the tributaries will join the canals. Hence, the water from small rivers flows into the larger rivers of Kaveri lakes, and tanks also added to the water sources. So, this Kaveri river, it was built in such a way that the tributaries has joined this Kaveri river, which added water to the Kaveri river, and also tanks were used to irrigate the fields. So, this is Kaveri river. You can see many tributaries joining the Kaveri river. So, this is a dam. What was the important feature of Indian agriculture? Important feature of Indian agriculture was the large number of crops were cultivated. The farmers in India were more knowledgeable about many crops compared to farmers in most of the parts in the world. So, as India is an agriculture country, the important feature of Indian agriculture is large number, variety of numbers of crops were grown, and the farmers in India, they were very knowledgeable than the other farmers when we compared in the world. Variety of food grains such as wheat, rice and millets were grown apart from lentils and oil seeds. So, these are the food grains and millets. Apart from this, lentils means kollu, they will say in Tamil, lentils and oil seeds like groundnuts, sesame seeds, groundnuts, and these were all the oil seeds. Lentil means kollu. So, these were all cultivated by the Indian farmers. Many commercial crops were also grown such as sugarcane, cotton and indigo. So, sugarcane, cotton and indigo was the commercial crops which is grown by the Indian farmers. Indigo is a type of plant in which they take dye for the textiles, a blue color dye. Other than food crops, South India had a regional specialization in pepper, cinnamon, spice and coconut. So, apart from the food crops, in our South Indian farmers were specialized in cultivating pepper, cinnamon, spices and coconut. So, this is pepper, cinnamon, they will say the pattai, that is cinnamon, spices, the variety of spices and coconut. What were the other new crops which was introduced by European in India? The two different crops were grown in the different season which protect the productivity of the soil. So, there were two types of grown in two different seasons. So, what happened? Hence, it protect the productivity of the soil. The consistency of the soil was retained. Maize and tobacco were the two new crops which were introduced after the arrival of the Europeans. So, maize and tobacco were the two crops which was introduced by the Europeans to India. New varieties of fruit of horticulture, that is horticulture means, see I have given you, this is horticulture crops like papaya, pineapple, guava, cashew nut were also introduced, which came from west, especially from America. So, all these fruits, that is pineapple, papaya, guava and this cashew nut, the nut is cashew nut. So, that is introduced from the west, especially from America. So, we started to grow all these crops after the Americans introduced it in India. Potatoes, chilies and tomatoes also became an integral part of Indian food. So, potatoes, chilies and tomatoes. So, these became an important part of food in the Indian food. So, this is potatoes, chilies. Without this, we won't prepare the food, isn't it? Do you know what was the non-agriculture production of India? End of 17th century, India was one of the largest manufacturing countries in the world. Though the economy was primarily agriculture, non-agriculture production processed both agriculture products and craft production. So, apart from agriculture, non-agriculture production was also increased in India during the 17th century. So, the non-agriculture production increased the agriculture production too. Agriculture products like sugar, oil, textiles textiles, this was also increased. Then metal works, that is non-agriculture production such as metal works, precious gems and jewelers, shipbuilding, ornamental wood and leather work, which also flourished during the 17th century of the Mughal period. So this is non-agriculture production and sugar, oil, textiles. So these are agriculture. And the metal works, see precious gems and jewelers, and this production was also increased to a greater extent. And see, this is shipbuilding, which was also done in the largest extent during this Mughal period. Ornamental wood and leather works. What was the nature of market for the produced good? See, whatever the goods were produced, they need a market to sell. So the organization of production basically dependent on the nature of the market. So whatever the goods is produced and it is organized, so it has to be dependent on the nature of the market. A large part of production was intended means it was planned for local use. So a large quantity of goods which was produced, which was planned only for the local use and the village and the most rural region. So it was mostly planned to sell in local areas, villages and most rural region. Rural means most village, remote areas. These goods were basic utilitarian goods like pots and pans. Utilitarian means daily it is used in our life. So pots and pans, this was the basic goods which was used daily. The implements like plows, basic woodwork and coarse textile. What is coarse textile? So this is the utilitarian goods. Plow. So coarse means the material will be very rough. That is the coarse textiles. So the implements, plows, basic woodworks and coarse textiles. So these were also introduced and sold in the markets. The producer marketed his product as himself, and exchange was mainly to barter. So the agriculture or the owner who is producing the goods, he himself sold it into the market, and this was mainly through barter. So he sold a good in exchange of good. So a good was exchanged in exchange of other goods. So that is the barter system. So what was important for an external market? External means other than the market which is present in their own areas. So specialized production by skilled craftsmen for an external market, especially in demand among high income rural and urban upper classes. So specialized production by skilled craftsmen. So specially the goods were made by skilled craftsmen for the external market. See, if it is a local market, then it is not built up to a mark. But if it is want to sold in an external market, the production of the good is to be in a good quality. So it was built in a specialized manner, and it was demanded among the high income rural and urban upper classes. So these goods were bought by the high income and rural upper classes. High income rural and urban upper classes. High rural income means the person who was earning more money in the villages and in cities. So this type of goods were sold in those areas. Craft production was generally located in cities. So whatever the craftsmen produced the goods, it was generally produced in the cities. Craftsmen generally worked on an individual or family basis for their homes or workshops through employing many craftsmen were set up under Mughal state. See, this craftsmen, whoever produced the goods, they were working as an individual or a group or the family. Total family will take part in the production. And in workshops too, they done this production. This craftsmen, they done their production, employing some other craftsmen to help in the production. And this was mainly during the Mughal state. Larger manufacturing unit. Apart from this, see, in home they manufactured, as a group they manufactured, as a family they manufactured. Apart from that, they had a manufacturing unit known as karkhanas, manufacturing center under state supervision during Sultanate and Mughal period. So this was supervised by the Sultanate and the Mughals, and in this unit also they started to produce goods. Many craftsmen were employed under Mughal state. So during Mughal rule, the craftsmen were more craftsmen were employed for producing the craft goods. So this is trading towns in medieval India, and this is karkhanas. How did the medieval period had this impact on textile industries in India? All the cloth that was produced was of cotton, though silk weaving has developed in Bengal and in Gujarat where silk was produced. See, all the textiles which were used or it was worn by the Mughal period, it was mainly made up of cotton. Even though silk weaving has been started in Bengal and Gujarat, they preferred only cotton. Each region of India produced a range of highly specialized local varieties of cotton cloth. So, there were varieties of cotton clothes. See, this is the variety of cotton clothes starting from fine cotton to coarse cotton. So, ranging from the coarse to the superfine, but everything was produced and planned for external market. So, whatever cotton textile which was produced, it was planned only for the external market, outside markets. Dyed and printed pattern cloth involved the use of vegetable dyes. So, vegetable dyes means what? They will take the color from the vegetables. Dyes or colorants derived from plants, invertebrates or minerals. So, that is called the vegetable dyes. Dyes and printed cloth also was involved in this during this medieval period, and this was marketed for external markets. So, this is vegetable dyes. See, from lemon, beets, onion, avocados, red cabbage, blueberries, spinach. So, from all these they took the dyes which was used in the textiles. So, these are the natural dyes, that is they are taken from the insects, invertebrates. See, murex snail. So, from that snail they are taking the purple color, lac insect they are taking the red color, and cuttlefish they are taking sepia brown. So, what was the two natural advantage of cotton weaving in India? India had two natural advantage of cotton weaving. The first was the cotton grew in almost all parts of India, so that the basic raw material was easily available. So, hence cotton was textile were increasing, so the raw material was cotton. So, the cotton was grown in all parts of India and it was easily reached to the industries as it is as the raw material is easily available in the market. Second, the technology of producing a permanent color on cotton using vegetable dye was known from very early times in India. So, as Indian textiles employers or workers, they were very skilled in dyes. So, the second technology, that is producing of a permanent color. So, the dye won't go when we wash. So, this is a permanent dye which is used to dye the cotton clothes. This was well known to the Indian textile workers. And this is the second advantage. Thus, the cotton weaving developed in India. What was the process used to observe dyes in cotton? So, cotton will not observe dye without a preparation process like using mordants. Mordants means which combines well with the dye. So, as it is dye, it is not observed by the cotton cloth. So, we have to add another chemicals or any other substance that is known as mordants. So, when we use dye with these mordants, it easily absorbs with the textiles. Indigo was the important dye crop that was grown in India. So, indigo was produced in a larger quantity. So, this was the important dye which was used for the textiles. The other dye crops like the cheroot for red color were also grown in India. So, what is cheroot? Cheroot is an Oldenlandia umbellata is a low growing plant native to India. So, it is grown only in India. A color fast red dye can be extracted from the root bark of a 2-year-old plant. So, this 2-year-old plant, from that plant we can take the red color, that is called the cheroot red color. So, this was well known to the Indian textile workers. In addition, in dyewoods and resins means a sticky substance produced by some trees. So, like lac. So, here is the picture. See, this is the dyewoods and resins which is used to dye the textiles, and this is lac insect. See, lac extract is a red dye extracted from the scale insect Laxifer lacca, which is found throughout India, Southeast Asia, Nepal, Burma, Bhutan and South China. So, see, if they want to seal any government institutions or any shops which is doing an illegal practice, so you can see they are sealing it with a red color, gum like structure. So, that is taken from this lac insect. So, this is to dye the furnitures, dyewoods and resins. So in addition, a range of colors were produced by using flowers, fruits and products like turmeric in various combination. So apart from vegetable dye, fruits and flowers were also used to take dyes. So from flowers and fruits they extracted dyes and which were used to color the textiles. How did the medieval period had its impact of commerce in India? See, the large manufacturing sector produced goods for exchange and not for self-use. So, a large manufacturing sector, that is factories, they produce good only for only for exporting and not for the self-use. India has an extensive network of trade and marketing goods. So, India had a very good network of trade in marketing goods. The village was the basic geographical unit of production and was essentially a subsistence. Subsistence means economy and barter was the medium of exchange. So, the village was the basic geographical unit and from where the production was started and thus it was substances means it supported the economy and mainly it was by the barter system. The medium of exchange was mainly by barter system. How trade was carried out in big cities? In big cities, it was usually commercial centers. These commercial centers were with bazaars and shops. They were also intermediate points. Intermediate points means located in two other points. So, this was a meeting point of two places. So, it was an intermediate points in which inter-regional trade. Inter-regional trade means existing between two or more regions. So, two regions met. So, these intermediate points they allowed for inter-regional trade since they are connected by a network of roads to other centers in other parts of the country. So, two regions joined together in trade because it has a great connection of network of roads and to other centers to the other parts of the country. To such overland trades means it is trade done in land. So, the overland trade smaller ships and boats were used. So if you want to go to such lands other than the region which is near the trade centers or the commercial centers, they used smaller ships and boats for trading, that is along the coastal areas, that is western and eastern coast of the country. The major ports Surat, Masulipatinam, Calicut etc. were the starting points in international maritime trade. So, from these ports international trade was also started during the Mughal period. So, this is the smaller ships and boats which were used for the overland trades. This is the western and eastern coasts. So, along these western and eastern coasts the trade were carried out. See, this is what are the places which is present in western and eastern coast. So, these are the ports. From here only the first international trade started. This is Surat, Masulipatinam and Calicut. What are the ports in which maritime trade extended across Indian Ocean from China to Africa? Maritime trade means sea route trade across the Indian Ocean extending from China to east in the east, that is from China, East China to Africa in the west, flourished for many centuries. So, the sea route trade, it was extending from Indian Ocean from the east of China to Africa. It flourished for many centuries. It was developed and it was extended for many centuries. The ports like Malacca, Calicut etc. were interports. Interports means the goods were brought to this center or to this port. So, here the goods were stored. So, that is called the interports or intermediate ports in regional segmented trade. What is regional segmented trade? It is the trade between the neighboring countries. So, these ports like Malacca and Calicut where the goods were stored and these were also used as a port from where goods were traded to neighboring countries. In 17th century, Surat in Gujarat, Masulipatinam in Golconda Kingdom, Chittagong in Bengal, Pulicat in Palaverkadu and Nagapattinam on the Coromandel coast and Calicut in Kerala were all the major parts in Asiatic trade. So, these all region was the major parts of the Asiatic trade. So, here are the pictures. This is Surat in Gujarat, Masulipatinam in the Golconda Kingdom, Chittagong in Bengal and Pulicat, that is Palaverkadu and Nagapattinam on the Coromandel coast. So, what was the major exports from India? Exports means the goods were traded to different countries. other than India. So India was also a major exporter of textiles. So textiles was exported, pepper, precious and semi-precious gems, especially diamonds, which were found only in India. So during this period, diamond was found only in India. So these all goods were exported to different parts of the country. Iron and steel, which were greatly demanded in the entire Asia region. So iron and steel were found more in India. So this was exported to different parts of countries. Hence they had a more demand of iron and steel. Textiles accounted for nearly 90% of the total exports from India. So whatever the goods were exported, so the textiles contributed to 90%. So this is pepper, gems, precious gems and textiles and diamonds and iron and steel. So these were exported to different parts of the country from India. What was the major imports from China and Persia? So what were the goods we imported from other countries? The major imports from China and the East were silk, Chinese ceramics, gold, spices, aromatic wood, fragrant and camphor. So what is aromatic wood? Aromatic means a good smell, like scent, no? So that's aromatic wood, fragrant and camphor. Camphor is karpuram. See, this is the Chinese ceramics. This is a pot which is built by ceramics. And gold, spices, aromatic wood and fragrant and camphor, which was all imported from China and Persia. Silk drugs, diodes and sugar were the main imports from Persia, while gold, ivory and slaves were brought in from East Africa. So mainly silk drugs and diodes and sugar we imported from Persia, and ivory, gold, ivory and slaves, no, we imported it from East Africa. That is, India imported from East Africa. How did the medieval period had its impact on urbanization? Travelers came to India in the medieval period, noted that there were a number of urban centers of various sizes, from cities to small market towns throughout India. So the travelers who came from different countries, they noted there were more places, that is urban centers, that is cities, there were more cities which was ranging from different sizes, that is small markets, towns throughout the India. The urban population was very little. So the area was very big, but the population was very less, and compared to the total population, it had an economic and cultural significance which was much greater than size. So as the urban population was very little, the area was very large. So it was, when it was compared to the total population, it had a significant effect on economic and cultural development, which added much greater to the economic development of India. So this is medieval period urbanization, how the cities were built. What were the factors which facilitated urbanization? It has been observed that cities and towns fulfill diverse and overlapping roles in the economy. So cities and towns were well developed and they had a different and overlapping roles in the economy. So they contributed to the development of economy of India. The large cities were centers of manufacturing and marketing, banking and financial service, usually located at the intersection of network of roads. So wherever the banking, financial service or marketing buildings were built, according to that there is an intersection point of different networks, that is land route, sea route. So that all became like a junction. So the place will be a junction for all the land route and sea route. So in these places only they build the marketing, banking and financial buildings. So then urbanization was increased a lot. Large cities of centers, see this is the centers of manufacturing and marketing, banking, which was built in urbanized areas, that is in cities. How urbanization developed in South India? In South India, especially the Tamil region, urbanization went hand with temples. So in South India, the development of cities, it went hand with temples. So temples were mainly increased the urbanization. So temples were changed into economic enterprises, that is for trading activities. Temples were large economic enterprises requiring a variety of goods and services to function. So in those days the temples, no, they will not earn revenue. So what happened? They changed the temples to economic center. So hence they can take revenue from the temples. They will need to employ a large number of people to manage religious service, the kitchen works, and for other works. So they employed more and more people to do the religious works, to do kitchen works and other works. Devotees coming to temple needed many services and goods, so that temples towns also became marketing centers. So the people who came and visited the temples, no, so they need many services and goods for them. So what happened? The temples were changed into marketing centers. So see, the temples have been changed to marketing centers. So the conclusion of this lesson, the medieval period covering more than 700 years of Indian history was a time when momentous changes took place in the political landscape, which transformed the social and economic fabric of the country. So the medieval period drastically it covers 700 years, in which in the Indian history as a momentous changes and important changes which took place in politicals as well as in social and economic development of the country. So students, I hope you would understood the lesson very well. Go through the lesson, go through the book back exercise and book inside, and prepare for your online test, and prepare your fair file and submit on the reopening day. I will meet you in the next class with a new topic. Until then, stay home, stay safe, bye.